Alright, what is up YouTube? I wanted to talk about Dead or Alive and the recent side tournament that we got at EVO Japan, which just ended last weekend. So I'm just gonna say it, the Dead or Alive tournament at EVO Japan was scuffed. And it hurts me to say that because I love this game, I love this franchise, but man, it is unfortunate the way we are treated in the scene in the FGC. I don't know why. So yeah, let's talk about it, shall we? Dead or Alive is a game, a franchise, a fighting game series that I personally love. You guys know, if you've seen my channel, you already know I love Dead or Alive, and I'm gonna keep talking about it forever until I die, I guess. But yeah, Dead or Alive, it's always gonna be on this channel, so we're gonna talk about it as long as there's things to talk about, right? I just put out a video about Dead or Alive needing more tournaments because, to be honest, I've always thought that Dead or Alive was really hard to play in the sense that it is a very tough game to master because you always have to be on high alert and, you know, read your opponent correctly. And I think it is one of the most rewarding fighting games to play and be really good at, but it's also one of the hardest to always be that alert and that big brain giga chad, you know? And I do have more videos talking more about that coming pretty soon, but you know, just kind of taking my time to edit those. But yeah, Dead or Alive is one of those games where no matter how good you are, you can get mollywopped because your opponent can just read you, or vice versa. But at the same time, if you don't make the right reads on your opponent, well, it's GG's. And so you would think that because of the high skill level that this game can bring out in people, you would think it would be equally as satisfying to watch in tournament. But for some reason, I feel like looking back at it, right? Because I've always watched a lot of the FGC and watched a lot of games in their tournaments and just, you know, at these fighting game events and stuff like that. And for Dead or Alive, because I didn't really get into Dead or Alive too early into my watching a lot of fighting game tournaments phase. Like when that started, it was mostly Marvel 3 and stuff, but I knew of Dead or Alive being in tournaments, right? Like I remember I would watch Dead or Alive 5 at the Fall Classic and other tournament events and stuff like that. Like it was there, I knew it was there, right? But then I think when Dead or Alive 6 came out, you know, it also had a lot of big tournaments and stuff like that in the beginning. And then slowly after, once the game started fading out and not a lot of tournaments were happening for Dead or Alive and Dead or Alive 6 mainly, I was kind of busy during that time. Like I was in college and just doing a lot of other things, right? And it's only now that I'm, you know, getting more into gaming and streaming and trying to build a community around fighting games and Dead or Alive and everything that I noticed how dead the Dead or Alive community is for a lot of fighting game tournaments and fighting game events. And it's just puzzling me because I guess I never really thought about it until now, because all that time that I was into watching fighting game tournaments, Dead or Alive was there. And then of course, once I had to, you know, take care of some life stuff, I feel like that's when it started to actually die out. And now that I'm coming back to a lot of the gaming scene in the FGC, I'm noticing that Dead or Alive is not where I think it should be, because Dead or Alive I think is a pretty good gaming franchise. And I think, you know, like I said, it's very rewarding to play and be good at, and it is entertaining to watch. It's just that the EVO Japan tournament that we got for Dead or Alive, because it was a side tournament, I will say that, but I've seen side tournaments that were much better than the one we got at EVO Japan. And I will say, I'm not trying to hate on the company per se that, you know, gave us the tournament or whatever, but it just really wasn't done all that tastefully, if I'm being honest. Because I was watching it, I was like, yo, I'm gonna react to this top 8 for EVO Japan for Dead or Alive, because that was honestly one of the only games I was really looking forward to watching for EVO Japan. My two favorite games, Skullgirls and Dead or Alive, were both side tournaments, and I didn't even watch the Skullgirls one, but I really wanted to watch the Dead or Alive one and react to it, and, you know, maybe like upload a top 8 reaction on this channel. But once I started watching it, I realized, man, this is, I honestly couldn't watch it because I was not feeling it. The matches weren't full screen, and they weren't even in 60 FPS, and honestly, like, that just took me out of it. That took me so out of watching the matches and watching the game that I was just like, man, I can't do this. I can't do this. Like, I really wanted to react to it and upload it to this channel, but I couldn't, man. I was really taken out by that, and it hurt. It really hurt me. Like, it hurt. Like, you know, a lot of the tournament was just a lot of waiting around. Like, I didn't know what they were doing. You know, they were speaking in Japanese and I don't know Japanese, unfortunately, but like, and then once the match actually started, it's like not even in 60 FPS and it wasn't even full screen, and there's like the huge chat on the right side, and again, like that's not like the worst thing in the world, I guess, but it really took me out of it, dude. Like I don't know, I'm so used to watching tournaments and gameplay with those things at bare minimum, like bare minimum full screen 60 FPS matches, you know what I mean? Like, to where that side tournament for Evo Japan of Dead or Alive 6 just, it wasn't it, man. It really wasn't it, and I couldn't watch it, and it's unfortunate because I was really excited, but I couldn't do it, man. I couldn't do it. And if that was the only time that DOA got the short end of the stick in tournaments in general, then I wouldn't be making this video necessarily, but that wasn't the only time. And I remember specifically the last time that Dead or Alive was at a big tournament that I was actually keeping up with and paying attention to because it was in America, was Kumite. And I remember watching Kumite and I'm like, oh, they got Dead or Alive here. Okay, let's go, let's get it. Okay, I start watching it and it was so weird because first off, the stream was a little bit janky. Like, it wasn't really smooth the way that some of the other games at that tournament were, which I was really disappointed in. Like, they were definitely having technical issues for DOA during Kumite. And I remember it was streamed by NYC Furby, which was Arturo Sanchez, who used to be part of Team Spooky, but he no longer is after all the drama that came out about him. But yeah, he's like the tech guy in fighting games, and like he runs a lot of tournaments, or at least he used to run a lot of tournaments with Team Spooky in the past, and like that's what they've been doing for such a long time that I was so disappointed to see the one time they run DOA and it's janky, it's messed up, and like the stream's not really all that smooth. And like the thing is, at one point the stream died, like the stream crashed, but instead of stopping the match and stopping the tournament altogether, they kept it going. And then once the stream came back up, the set was already over, so we just missed an entire set during that tournament. And I remember being so confused, like what the hell's going on? And it was just like they just didn't care at all. And I just feel like, I don't know, as a DOA fan, I don't know, man, like, because I do feel like a lot of people in the FGC, you know, I think they mess with DOA, but they don't express it enough, or I don't know, I really don't know what it is about why DOA just doesn't get the respect that it deserves, bro. I really don't know. I'm at a loss for words, bro. Like, and I know that, you know, there's DOA tournaments like on Team Spooky channel. Like, it's not like Dead or Alive is just completely hated by the FGC. Like, I know, I'm not saying that that's the case, and I know that that's not the case. But yeah, it just seems like lately all the DOA tournaments that have come out or have happened just aren't of the best quality, and I just think that they could be much better quality, and we could have just better representation for Dead or Alive and Dead or Alive tournaments. And I don't know, man, I'm kind of sad and kind of fed up with it, but hopefully things get better. You know, I don't know if it's just the fact that DOA has fan service. Like, I don't know. Maybe the world has gotten to the point where they just can't handle fan service and people don't want to take that risk by showing DOA on the screen. I don't know, man. I really don't know. But hopefully with the reboot, you know, maybe the FGC and DOA will have a synergy and a resurgence, and, you know, we'll have this issue of not having great DOA tournaments, or like having technical issues during DOA tournaments sorted out. But what do you guys think about all of this? I mean, have you guys also had issues watching Dead or Alive tournaments, not just Evo Japan, but any other tournament that you can think of? Let me know in the comments below. What did you guys think of the DOA tournament at Evo Japan, if you guys watched it? I know I saw my boy in the chat while I was watching. Okay, one last thing I just want to clarify, that I know there is not a conspiracy theory of everybody in the FGC hating on DOA or anything like that. Like, I know that's not the case. I'm not trying to put it out there as if that is the case. I know people in the FGC love DOA, and I know that sometimes, you know, certain games or certain franchises just get better treatment in better games, or they're just more poppin' at certain times over others. Like, that's just how it is, and I get that. I totally get that. And I also don't want to make it seem like DOA is being singled out as like the game that gets the worst treatment of tournaments, or even in this tournament, Evo Japan specifically, because I feel like it was with a company, Yesu, which was like a whole other separate thing from Evo. And like, there's endless possibilities of like who you want to blame for how the tournament actually went, or like how it looked on screen or whatever. Like, trying to put the blame on one person specifically is kind of pointless, and it's really not like a DOA thing. Like, I think it's more of just them as a tournament holder older and everything, like, it's just their stream was not looking great. But I just want to point it out there and, you know, clarify, like, be extra sure that you guys know that that's not the agenda I'm trying to push, that, oh, everybody hates DOA. Like, I know that that's not the case, and I don't want to make it seem like that is the case, but I just feel like there have been tournaments in the past, and even more recently with EVO Japan, that haven't been the best. And since DOA just doesn't get that many tournaments in general, at least that are in kind of the main spotlight, it almost feels like at times that the proof is there. But I know it's not the case. I just hope that moving forward with this new reboot game, DOA will get its time to shine and you know, just be in the spotlight. I want to see DOA as a main game for EVO. That would be so cool to me. Honestly, these two examples of DOA getting the short end of the stick at these big major fighting game tournament events, like, it's obviously just a case of technical difficulties that just so happen to arrive when DOA is on the screen. But I know that it's not anyone that's targeting DOA, or like tournament organizers are purposefully mistreating DOA at these tournaments. Like, I know both of these examples, and probably other examples, just so happen to be coincidentally DOA on the screen when technical difficulties happen. And it's not even just DOA that was scuffed at EVO Japan. There was a ton of other issues with other games, even some of the main games like Tekken 7 and Street Fighter 5. I know you guys saw all the punk drama with the monitor and everything. Apparently there was monitor issues with Tekken 7 as well. There was a lot of scuffed things that happened at EVO Japan. So it wasn't just DOA, a ton of games got mistreated, and just overall the venue, I think, was maybe not the best. Seems like they're trying to work things out for next year. But yeah, it's not just DOA. EVO Japan in general, I think, was a little bit scuffed this year. But yeah, it's just that the examples that I mentioned before were like EVO Japan, and then also with Kumite. Like, the whole thing with Kumite and how they literally just kept the tournament running even though the stream crashed and we just missed an entire set. I feel like something like that wouldn't happen for Street Fighter 5 or like Dragon Ball FighterZ. Whereas since it's DOA, I feel like they just didn't care as much, and they kind of were just like, oh, well, we'll just keep it running, you know, whatever. And since we don't get a ton of DOA tournaments, or at least a lot of DOA tournament representation nowadays at a lot of the main big FGC tournament events, it's like, damn, our time to shine finally comes, or like we get that little bit of spotlight, but then it has technical issues, and it's like, oh man, like, it really hurts. Like, it hurts that much worse, you know? But again, I know that no one is singling out DOA, or there's not this hatred for DOA from the FGC. It just so happens that in the past 2 times that DOA has been in the spotlight in relevant fighting game tournament events, it's seemingly gotten a little bit of the short end of the stick. But again, at EVO Japan, it definitely wasn't just DOA. I'm imagining the Skullgirls tournament was also not 60 FPS just because it was held by the same company, the same people, so that's gotta hurt too. But yeah, since this is DOA, and you guys know I've already made a ton of videos talking about DOA and everything, I feel like now I kind of have to keep the trend going and the tradition alive of just giving my commentary on DOA, and like, if there's anything to talk about DOA, I'm just probably gonna talk about it. So I felt like talking about this because, you know, I thought it was pretty cool that DOA was gonna be at EVO Japan, and you know, you saw like Hoodless and Perfect Legend saying, oh yeah, we're gonna restream it and everything. So I thought, oh, this could be pretty cool, but it just really wasn't that cool, and like, I think it could have been way cooler. So yeah, figured I would just give a little commentary on it, and I don't want it to seem like it's a big deal or like a huge deal. I don't think the DOA community or franchise is in peril because of this, but I just want to express my wish and desire for DOA to be given more priority, I guess, when it comes to these big tournaments, because I do feel like this game is dope and it's cool to watch, and you know, it's not just all boobs. There's a lot of skill involved. And I know because I play online ranked, and it's so frustrating sometimes. But yeah, again, I'm going to get more into depth on that in another video and explain why DOA is actually a lot harder than other fighting games in my opinion. But yeah, let me know what you think about anything I had to say in the comments below. Please leave a like on the video and subscribe for more Dead or Alive and, you know, just fighting game talk in general, content, videos, etc, etc. Thank you guys so much for watching. I really appreciate it, and I'll see y'all in the next video.